Good evening, friends, and it is evening, and this is a sneaky December guitar I have had in. Everyone knows, or you should all know, that I closed the shop in December, and I was just finishing up the guitars I had in, some ones by special arrangement, and I had a couple in for other people in December that wasn't advertised. And this is one of those guitars, and this is the last of the ones I'm doing in December, and we are today, I believe the date today is Saturday the 19th of December, year of our Lord 2020, and this is the last one I've got before, well until January. I'm not doing anything else after this, and it's a beautiful guitar. It's a made in Mexico Fender Strat, beautiful thing. I do believe it is a standard model, and fantastic, but it does need a setup. And it's going to have a setup, and straight away I could tell when it came in the tremolo was set wrong. How do I know it's set wrong? Look at the tuner holes at the back. They are not lined up. They need to be lined up with this hole so you can get them in and out. So oddly, you do need the tremolo tilted forwards to get it set right. And it wants to be set about, let me turn it around. It wants to be set about, watch the bridge, about here at that angle. And I know it looks wrong and people think it needs to be set level, but you don't set them level, you set it that way, and it gives you forward bend and it gives you pull back. So it really needs to be set that way, and that way when we do that, these holes in the back will line up with this hole here for getting the strings in. So that needs to be sorted out. This does have 4 rocking frets. I did check the frets while the owner was here, so we are going to go for an intensive setup. What we're going to do is we're going to basically, we're going to set the tremolo, we're going to set the string height above the 1st fret, we're going to set the right height at the 12th fret, we're going to set the action, we're going to set the relief right in the neck. There's not enough relief in this. We'll do the intonation, we'll check the pickup heights. I am going to level at least 4 frets, we'll polish all of the frets. Every nut, bolt, screw, whatever will be checked, tightened, unloosened or whatever, where it needs to be, and we'll check all of the electrics and the pickup heights. I think I mentioned pickup heights before. So it's going to have a full bit, a good couple of hours in this, and should be pretty straightforward. We are going to restring with, I believe, some 942s. He did say put some things in the guitar case. Just bear with me a second. I've not been in the guitar case. I don't even know where the zipper is. Here it is. And we have, a set of early ball 942s, which is standard for a Strat. So we'll be, imagine stringing like for like. So yes, get the tremolo set. I know it looks odd with it being tilted forward, but that is how you set them on Fenders. I'm going to plug it in, have a little play about with it first, just to see what it sounds like. I do like a Mexican Strat. They're great for if you're into modding guitars. They're a great start point. If you can get yourself a good second-hand Mexican Strat, they're brilliant for upgrading. I had one the other year. I had an immaculate condition Mexican one in Sunburst. It was fantastic. I paid £300 for it, and I did every mod you could possibly think of, and it came out absolutely brilliant. I wish I kept it. I let it go. I sold it for £650, and I should have kept it. It was absolutely beautiful. But anyway, this one, just a standard setup, a little bit of fretwork. I do call it an intensive setup. The way an intensive setup is different from a player setup. A player setup is everything done, frets polished, neck set, relief set, we set your 12 action at your 12th fret, we do the intonation, we set the bridge, we cut the nut slots, we check the electrics, but we don't do any fret work, we don't do any electrical work. Every nut and bolt will be checked and the guitar will be cleaned. An intensive setup entails up to 5 frets leveled and recrowned, all of them polished like I say, and we will also reflow solder on your electrics. So that is the only difference really. So we are going for an intensive setup. That does cost you £75, and that really is it. So I'm going to crack on. Like I say, I'm going to plug it in, I'm going to play it, I'm going to check everything, test everything. I will check the setup as it is. I'll check the intonation, and then I'll alter a couple of things. I'll alter the relief in the neck, I'll set the action at the 12th fret, I'll make sure the intonation's all right, and then I'll take the old strings off and we'll get some new strings on, checking the setup again, and we'll cut the nut slots, blah 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 blah. I will come back with updates now and again. I'm not going to film a lot of this because I don't have a lot of time. I do want to get this done. We are now just after 4 p.m. in the afternoon. It's just getting dark out there. I would like to be not working after 6 p.m. tonight. 6 o'clock probably going to have my dinner, and me and the wife are going to settle down. We're going to watch a movie, probably have a glass of wine, as a loving couple should do. You know, it is coming up to Christmas. I've worked really hard. You do know I work for Royal Mail. We have been inundated this week. I've done 6 days this week and I am really quite tired. So I like to relax. I've got 1 day off tomorrow and back on it next week just before Christmas. So I will come back and give you an update in due course. So I have done what I said I was going to do. I have altered the angle of the bridge. We now have it leaning a little bit more forward. I've set the action at the 12th fret on the bass side 1.75 millimeters, on the treble side 1.5 millimeters. We have 0.25 millimeters relief in fret 6. And what else have I done? I've set the intonation. So everything is ready for me now to remove the strings. I've tested the guitar, I've had it plugged in, I've played it, sounds very nice. So the setup is done with the old strings on. So let's just recap what I have done. Done the intonation, I've set the action above the 12th fret after setting the relief in the neck. 0.25 millimeters relief at this fret here between frets 5 and 7. So anywhere around here, about 0.25 millimeters. Action at the 12th fret, that's the space from the bottom of the string to the top of the fret. 1.75 millimeters this side, 1.5 on the treble side. Not cut the nut slots yet. It's the last thing I'm going to do when I get the new strings on. Tremolo is set. I loosened the springs. I've got it all set up with the angle just perfect. Now these holes here match up exactly with the hole in the back plate, which is how it should be. So if you want to look at the angle and get an idea of how a tremolo ought to be set, you're looking at this angle here. That is it. Very straightforward. I know it looks odd, but that is the way you set them up. So with that all done and everything checked, I can now remove the strings and get to work on the frets. What I've always found, by the way, is if you set the relief right with the neck with the strings on, when you let the string tension off and remove the strings, the neck should be perfectly straight. It normally always is. If it isn't, it's going to be very close, and that way we can check the frets. So what we're going to do is, once we've got the strings off, we're going to check the frets for level and see how many higher ones we do have. We do have some high spots on at least 4 frets. I'm hoping it isn't any more than that, because if it is more than that, we're going to have to do a complete fret level, and I don't want to be doing that this time of the year. So I'm going to be loosening the strings. Loosen them right off. We're going to remove it. I may as well leave the camera running so you can see what I'm doing. There you go, you see plenty there. So I'm not be using these strings here, I'm not be saving anything. I've got loads and loads of old guitar strings I use for mock setups, and if I'm going to do a pre-setup, I actually need to sort them out, but far too many. These are in pretty good condition, these strings. Could save them. Always good for a mock setup. But you know what, I can't be bothered to save them. One thing the owner wanted to do with this was replace the string tree, but things we left it too late in the year to go and order another one. So we'll have to make do with the one that's on there. I do have. Here we go. So I can't go and order one now. I could possibly order one Monday, but there's no way I was going to get it for Wednesday. That's where it's picking the guitar up, so it's something we're going to change later. The problem with it on it is it's really low down, it's a wrong angle. You need a brass little bit of cylinder tube under there to make it right, in my mind. I'm not going to remove the tremolo arm because we've got a spring in there. So I'm going to leave the tremolo arm as it is. There are the old strings. Easy, get all these ends together, and we can just these wrapped up and get them in the bin. Like so. We do have a new set of burning balls going on there later. Burning ball slinkies, 942s. So just get rid of these. Too many winds on these. I do like to see winds around string posts. I always put plenty on mine, but there's too many on this one. And what I also like to do is get all the tuners lined up for restringing later. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove these. And now they're all off, we're just going to set the tuners to where they want to be. Get them all the right way. That's not so bad. Just helps later on. And there you go, so the tuners are more or less set up. Regarding the string tree, like I said, it's too low down. You normally get a little brass cylinder part underneath there and have it raised a little bit higher. I prefer to go with staggered tuners rather than string trees myself. Anyway, so there we go. So we're just going to check the neck, see how straight it is. 25.5 inch scale length. Should be more or less straight. Feels like it might have a little bit of backbone in there. Yes, it does have a tiny little bit of backbone. So we're going to get the right size Allen wrench. Should be a 3/16 on a Mexican. I can loosen off the truss rod just a little. Let's see where we are. A little bit more. And the neck should be just about straight now. That looks pretty good to me. I think I'm just going to take a light behind this so I can see. There you go. Little pen light. Yeah, we're good there. Yep, happy with that. Nice straight neck. So I'm just going to take a fret rocker. I do have one out. I'm going to grab a pen, permanent marker pen, just to see where we've got any high spots. We had 4 high spots when the owner was here. Doesn't mean we're going to have any now with the neck straight. The neck wasn't actually straight. What have we done there? I don't want any high frets. I don't want to be doing a fret level this time of the year. I want to be getting this guitar done. Get it out the door and then I can enjoy what little time I have off at Christmas with my wife. Another high one there. Just in the middle, not too bad though. Things you see with spot leveling frets, for instance, when I alter this one because it's high, it's going to alter the relationship with these two and these two, so they may need a little bit of work as well. It's why once we get more than 4 or 5 we do a lot. It's a lot easier. So that's 3. Doesn't need a lot of work though, it's only a little bit out of that one. You may think it doesn't make any difference, just a little bit out, it makes a lot of difference. An 1/8 of an inch is a lot when it comes to frets, because you need it precision level all along the length. I have 1 high fret down here, it means everything this end's going to buzz. So we don't want that. again. So we do have 5 areas, but it is not major surgery where we are, so I think I'll just be okay. Right, we're good. We do have 5, but they're not too high. So we're going to work on these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets. Very small areas. I will get away with just slightly leveling and crowning with a diamond file. Shouldn't need any deep polishing either. So that's not going to be too difficult. So I'm going to get my tools out. I'm going to remove the neck to do it because I don't want to be working around this area of the body. I could tape it up, but I'm still not going to get my files in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the neck off. It'll be a little bit easier for me to work with, I think. So I'm going to crack on with that. I'm not going to video it. You've seen me spot leveling before many times. You know how it all works. So I'm just going to take a file. I'm just going to go that way until we've got the level matching these 2 frets. And then we'll do the same with these frets up here. I have all manner of tools at my disposal. I'm always buying new tools. I've had a delivery, 2 deliveries actually, from StewMac recently, but I'm not using a StewMac file on this at the moment. I am using a file I bought a few years ago. It's made by Valor, but it's Swiss made. It's a number 4 cut file. It is so smooth yet so sharp, and this has a precision flat edge. So we're going to use this for the leveling. I've got to replace this because I've actually knackered it by filing some what was it? Some glue, some epoxy glue, and it's clogged it all up. So I'm going to need to get a new one. But using this one for the leveling, I've got one from Elmer Tools for crowning. It does have a wide jumbo side and a medium side. This I'll be using the medium, and I'll be finishing off with a 300 grit diamond file for the crown. This was a gift. This again is an Elmer tool, I believe. So these are both Elmer files. This was a gift from Nigel Roberts a few years ago. And I only have this one left to do, so I'm going to show the procedure. And I just remove the neck. I'm leaving my tuners on. I've got it nice and stable. I've done the other 4. I've checked everywhere. And what we're going to do is, it's a case of measure twice, cut once. So we're just checking where it's high. It's high just in this middle portion here, about 2 centimeters in length. So we know where we're going to work. I'm just going to take the file, flat side down, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put my fingers in, just hold it steady so I don't cut into the fingerboard. Nice and steady. I'm just going to roll over, and I'm going to feel the radius, and you can feel the radius, and just cut accordingly. And it'll find its own level. And what we're going to do is, once we've cut in, we're just going to check. It really is that simple. You've got to know what you're doing with this. You do learn over time. I mean, it just happens I'm a natural at it. You do get to feel the radius, and you know where you're cutting, where you need to be, and that is already done. It should not have altered the relationship with these frets around it, because I like to think I know what I'm doing. But that seems pretty good to me. So we're just going to check, and everything feels fine there. Little high spot just there on this one. So we're going to come across, just check in. Still a little bit high there. So again, just following the radius. And that feels pretty good. Go back one to check, go forward one to check, and that feels pretty good. And what we're going to do is, we're going to take the profiling file, just check which is which. That's the wide side, so this is the narrow side. And we're going to go including the frets around it. Nice file. It's the first time I've used this file. And we're going to finish off with this profiling file. And that's it. That's the frets all levelled, all profiled, and they should all feel really nice. Just going to check this end. I've already done these. Fret rocker. I'm going to check back from where I've worked. Everything's feeling pretty good. So that's the frets all level, all nicely crowned, ready for polishing. And that's the neck done. All we really got to do is get these frets polished up. Once they're polished up, put it back on the guitar. Right, that's all down to fret 12 done. Just come up to these few. Get the neck back on the guitar, get some strings on, get it tuned to pitch. And then one more thing to do is to look at the nut slots and get those cut. So we are absolutely fine. Just for good measure, we're going to check all of the frets. And that is how we spot level without leveling the lot. I always prefer to level all of them in one go. Remove a nut, get them all leveled. It's the way you should do it by rights, but you can get away if you want to save a bit of money. Spot level, it does a good enough job. And that's it. The frets are now level. We're ready to. I'm going to get a fingerboard guard, and we're going to get these all polished up with some steel wool before we put it back on the guitar. Once that's done, we'll put the neck back on the guitar. We'll get some strings on. We'll get it tuned to pitch, and then we'll come and look at the nut slots. Okay, so I've zoomed ahead with things. You know, I removed the neck, polished the frets, blah blah blah, leveled and polished the frets, which was all done. I've also restrung the guitar and set the tremolo. A few other things I've done as well, so I'm going to explain. One thing you must understand before you start commenting on this video, and I've been having quite a lot of this lately, is people saying you don't show things in depth enough and you don't zoom in here and there. You've got to understand, these are not instructional videos. These are videos for the client. The only reason I started making videos, in fact I've always made videos, is I do a video for the client. The client doesn't need to see exactly what I'm doing. This is all about explaining to the client what I think needs to be done, why I think it needs to be done. Then they're going to see me actually doing it, and we'll get a little bit of an explanation on the way. So let me explain what I have done. So you know about the fret leveling and the polishing. So what I've done in the meantime is I've restrung with some Ernie Ball Slinkies 942s. I've stretched the strings in. I've set the radius on the saddles. I'll explain a bit more about that. Once I've got it strung up, I'm looking at setting this tremolo the right way, leaning forwards. But we need the action at the 12th fret to be right. So I've done all these things. I've set the relief in the neck. What I mean by, so now I'll explain. The relief in the neck, this is a notched straight edge, self-explanatory. The notches go over the fret, so we're able to have a look to see how straight the neck is. And it is mainly straight. It does have some relief in there, relief being a undercurve in the shape of a smile. Now I normally like to set that round about 0.25 millimeters at the 7th fret. For argument's sake, I like to between 5 and 7, so I go for 6. And that in this case now is too much because I've not altered it since I put the strings on. The strings are at tension, so I'm going to go and grab the correct Allen key. Bear with me. So I need a 3/16. I've not checked, I didn't check this in. So we are a little bit, we've got too much dip in there, so I'm going to tighten the truss rod. And to do so, I'm going to move these strings out of the way, make it a little bit easier. It's a 3/16 size Allen wrench. The reason being I've got no tension on there at all. There you go. So now let me have a look again. You don't have to wait 24 hours or overnight like some people say you do. It happens instantly. We're just about scraping there. Try again. Still a little bit too much for my liking. more. And we should be there. Good thing about it is, now you can hear. So I'm just going to let that off just a tiny bit. But at least now you get to see me checking the setup, tuning everything in and getting it right. So you are in effect seeing the setup. So the first thing I'll do is, because I went around under correct string tension, I can set the relief. It's the first thing I do. Gone too much, again, tighten a little bit more. And you can just hear it there. That's perfect. That's the string tension. That's the relief set in the neck. Just unplug this. The bridge is set exactly where it needs to be. You just got to take my word for it. There, with that, it's leaning forward at the right amount. It means that these holes at the back are going to line up perfectly with the holes in the cover. So that is perfect. Another thing I did is we set the action at the 12th fret. Now I'd be looking at 1.75 millimeters on this side, 1.5 on that side. That's a gap between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string. We might be a little bit over, and I'll explain why we're going to be a little bit over in a minute. That is a little bit, only a tiny bit over. And this again is a tiny bit over. The reason I've done that is still need to cut the nut slots to depth. I've not actually done that. So we've got the perfect action, we've got perfect amount of relief, perfect action. I've set the radius on the saddle, something I did earlier, again off camera, taking a 9.5 inch radius gauge there, placing it under the strings. With the action set on the outside strings, we raise the 4 middle ones and then drop them all back down onto the top of the radius gauge. And I do see there we have one just a little bit higher there. Let me stick something on there so we don't mark anything. Again, great, you're seeing this live. So we need a 1/20th of an inch Allen wrench. And I can just see that the middle, this middle one here, is too high. So you are seeing the setup being done. Now don't go whining, we can't see what you're doing, we zoomed out too far. Like I say, these videos are for the client. They're not instructional videos. I'm a bit fed up of explaining it, so I'm going to start putting an explanation on the description of the video. So this radius will match the radius of the neck. Oh, really, the fingerboard. That one's okay, this one's a little bit high. We'll drop each string onto the top of the radius gauge, and that's it. We are there. So now this radius here, the arc of the neck here, and at the knot, we've now matched here. Now we're going to make sure they are all more or less straight, which remarkably they are. So I just need to raise this middle one just a tiny bit. But where I raise it that much on one side, I lower it an equal amount on the other. And that keeps them nice and straight. And I think we are there. That's fantastic. So we now have the relief set at the 12th fret, perfect. We have the radius matched. We have the right string height at the 12th fret. So now we're going to tune in. I've already stretched the strings in. We've set the tremolo, I've stretched the strings in. That sounds sharp to me. So really quite simple, very close everywhere anyway. I also set the intonation. So that's it. So all that remains for me to do now is check the pickup heights, which I'm going to do later. I know all the electrics are working fine, there's no scratchy pots. I've tightened every nut and bolt on everything as well. All I do need to do now is measure the nut slot height. But how we do that is we measure the gap from the top of the first fret to the bottom of the string. And for this, I will be taking a feeler gauge, and again I'm measuring on this side from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string. I'm looking at a measurement of around 0.3 millimeters, and on this side, the treble side, around 0.2 millimeters. The reason we go lower this side is the strings vibrate less because they're thinner. So we're basically going to arc slightly down, get a little bit closer to the strings. That way, when we bar an F, an F sharp, a G, even a G sharp, we're not going to go sharp. If you've got too much pickle height like we do here, when you bar an F chord, you're going to be F sharp. You're going to be getting sharper, and here you're still going to get sharp. We need it to stay in perfect tune. So I have a 0.25 gauge here. I'm going to take the 0.3. We could go lower. It's just this is what I do on a main setup, on a standard setup. This one we are about 0.5. We are not touching the feeler gauge. Same on this side, we're about 0.4. So we need to bring all these low, and what we do is we cut into the nut slots and we cut them down. Now fortunately I have fantastic nut slot files by Hosco. These will cut a perfect U shape or a semicircle shape, which is what we want, and I'll pick one corresponding to the string. So we're 942 set, so I'll pick the closest to a 942 set, which should give us a 9, an 11, a 16, a 24, a 32 and a 42. Well, the closest we'll have a 42, we'll have a 32. We don't have a 26, hang on, oh, a 24, we do have a 24. This one's 16, the closest we have is 17. The closest to an 11 is a 13, and the closest to a 9 is a 10. So they're the ones we'll be using. Some slightly bigger, but it doesn't make a difference, it'll be absolutely fine. So I will be cutting the nut slots very, very shortly. What I'm going to do in the meantime is I do have a text to answer, it's quite important. So I'm going to go and answer that text, and I'm going to come back, turn the camera back on, not going to touch anything, not going to move anything, and we'll come back and we will cut these nut slots. So I'm back. So, cutting the nut slots. Let me just grab something I can stick underneath. Right, this is great. So everything, the setup is done, bar the nut slots. And this is how I do it. I'm not saying it's the definitive way and the only way. And the measurements have to be what I say. It's just the way I do it, and it's the measurements I use. And it has worked fine for me. I'm just going to check these files. These are the ones I'm not using. 32, oh yes, I'll tell a lie. 42, I need that. 32, oh there you go. 50 I don't need. 24 I do need, so that's the bass strings. 56 I don't, 50 and 56 I don't need. I don't think I've ever used that 56 yet. Right, okay, tell a lie. So this is going to be the bass side. In fact, I'm not going to use a 24, I'm going to use a 28. Slightly wider than the 26. Oh no, 24 is right. Take no notice, I don't know what I'm talking about. 42, 32, I do have a 24, that's the right size. On the treble side we're going to need 10 for the 9. Need that one. A 13 for the 11. And a 16 for the 16. So that's fantastic. Don't do 50, 56, don't need the 28, or the 46, or the 36. So yeah, great, I know where I am now. You know me, with my videos, I leave the mistakes in. So, my 0.3 on this side, 0.2 on that side is a guide. I could go down to 0.1 on that side and probably 0.25 on this side. What I do is I get them to where I want them, so I'm going to go with 0.3 there, 0.2, and I'm going to slightly gradiate down from the 3 to the 2, if you know what I mean. I may go a little bit underneath, looking, you know, by eye. I don't need to cover anything. I'm not going to cut into anything, so we're going to start with the first one. Let's just look again at the string sizes first. The proper sizes are 42, 32, 24. I have a 42, 32, 24. On this side, 16, 11 and 9. I have 16, 13 and 10. Doesn't matter, we're going to be slightly wider, so that's as close as we can get it. It's perfect, it's going to be absolutely fine. So what we're looking at is this side, 0.3. I'm just going to look in my eye, we are quite a bit over. Got my tuner still plugged in, and what we're going to do is we're going to take the 0.42 or 0.042 of an inch. Always got a cloth to hand just to clean the file. It's clean anyway. And we're going to remove the string and we're going to cut into the knot. More or less straight with the angle of the neck, following it in a line, mate. Angle slightly back to the tuner, but not too much. And all we're going to do is we're going to make sure we're straight. And we're just going to carve in. We're not going to go mental. If we remove too much material, we'll be replacing the knot. And because we've gone flat, we know we've cut into it. And we measure again. Just buzzing, so that's perfect. What we're going to do is now we're going to square up that slot. So we're going to wipe again. And all we're going to do is we're not going to press down this time. We're going to go ever so light. And we're just going to, by square up, I mean we're just going to make sure that the slot is nice and clean, and we're just going to very slightly angle back. Angle slightly, not removing any more height, just opening that slot so the string sits in there nice. That's beautiful. We're going to take feeler gauge again, and we're just going to measure again. 0.3. Oh, that's a 0.25. Doesn't matter, it's not too low, it's fine. So we've got 0.25. I'm happy with that. Just buzzing. So on the next one, I'm going to look for more of a buzz, and on the next one, even more of a buzz. So it's touching it. Same with that one. Then we're going to use a 0.2. So I've gone a little bit lower than I recommended, but that's fine. Listen to the buzz. Only just buzzing. So we are either 0.25, but that is perfect. I'm going to get the rest of them done till we get down to 0.2, maybe slightly under 0.2 that side. You've seen how I'm doing it. You know I've got the files right. I don't need to film everything, so I'm going to crack on, get that done. Once it's done, I will come back and I'll show you that we're buzz free. We have everything set perfectly, and the guitar will be good to go. One thing I will need to do once I've done this is I'm going to need to stretch the strings in again, but I'll show you that when I get to it. Apologies guys, I've took the wide angle lens off the front of my camera and I don't know where I've put it, so I've had to go back to normal standard lens. But anyway, the guitar is complete. I've had a plug and play and it's fantastic. So just to recap what we've done, we've given a complete setup. We've set the tremolo properly, so it's angled correctly, so the string holes at the bottom line up correctly in here. We've levelled a few frets, we've polished all of the frets, we've set the relief in the neck, we've set the intonation, we've set the saddles, we've set the action at the 12th fret, we've cut the nut slots and we've tightened every nut and bolt, and we've cleaned up the guitar. And it is all done, and what a very, very nice guitar it is. 2020 made in Mexico Fender Strat Standard. I do like these guitars. We've stuck some Ernie Ball 942s or Super Slinkies on there, and it is finished. The owner is on the way to collect it, and I'm ready to move on to the next project. So as time is so short for me at this time of the year, we are Sunday the 20th of December, year of our Lord 2020, and I want to move on, crack on, get everything cleared up. So I'm just going to remind you my website before I go. It's facebook.com/ng17. That's facebook.com/NGONESEVEN. There's also fretfriend.co.uk. I am Victor. I am your fret friend. Until the next one, as always, God bless you. Be good to each other, and I will see you in the next one.